What up? It's Soki Siren, and I'm here to talk to y'all about this Bop This Out. Hopefully, you already listened to it. If you haven't, make sure you stream the thing. And make sure y'all go to my bio, click that link. M.I.A. is available everywhere, wherever you listen to music. And we about to get into some details. Drink some tea, even though it's the middle of summer. It's 111 right now, but we still need some tea, and it's hot. Yeah. So M.I.A. was produced by the homie B.Ham and Chizzy, and I had an assist on the writing as well from Bantu, and B.Ham sent me this beat. Like, my favorite kind of record, obviously, are the ones that, like, when I hear the track and it takes me to a time and place, because once it does that, it's like, oh, it's a rap, bro. Like, yeah. So I heard it and I was just like, man, it ended up writing itself pretty much. So that's how it came to light. So M.I.A. is so funny because what it originally meant versus right now where we are in society, like, I feel like I'll start with now, you know what I mean? Because right now it's like we living in perilous times, bro. Like, I waiting for the fire and the brimstone to show up at this point, because 2020 been 2020, and it's just, I think right now this is a record that stands to, it's a soundtrack to going off grid. Like, I think people disconnecting right now, I think that's almost it is a part of self-care, because shit is heavy. Like, society is in a really, really dark place right now in terms of, like, supremacy running amok and COVID causing all this chaos and shit. Like, it's just like, all right, it's a lot for people to deal with, and I feel like we don't, everybody feel like we have to be strong 24/7, and it's like, no, man, sometimes you need to unplug and you just need to not be in touch with anybody, like, sometimes the solitude is therapy. Now, before 2020 came in and started using people for punching bags, the song was actually written a while ago. So that was the original inspiration, was actually from a trip home that I had taken, and I was dealing up with somebody at the time, and dealing up means like talking, and that's what I like about home so much. It's just like that, the notion of like escaping is not constantly this like sunshine and see come to, it's not always the lights. It's mostly just it's about who you with, and it's about like just being able to go somewhere and just cool, like you don't need all of the bells and whistles all the time, and in most cases it's just like we don't even care for that. So in the second verse, like, I know again things get a little more specific, but I say it's an understanding, only we understand to travel without the baggage, I like to keep it light. That line, I think at the end of the day, not every situation need to be, everything won't lead to like exchanging raps at the end of the day. Sometimes we don't need to check bag. It's a carry-on type situation, So that was pretty much a metaphor for that, because in this case, it wasn't something that was going to be anything long-term. It was a destination and an expiration. One thing when I'm writing as an artist, like, I want to make it a point to always have layers, because obviously when you at first listen, like, it's always going to be way of big energy. It's like the production ain't gonna miss, it's going to be a vibe. But like, when you listen and you go through the lyrics, like for instance on the pre-chorus, I say, I don't go to PI, that shit's just for tourists. And a lot of people may, it sound wavy, but it's like, if you listen and you really take that apart, it's like, Paradise Island is obviously one of the more standard experiences that people think about when they think about the Bahamas. And it's gorgeous, it's stunning, but it's not, it's almost like every time that I say I'm from where I'm from, people assume that that's an example of what life is like. And it's like, yeah, no. Moreover, it's like, at the end of the day, like, my paradise ain't a paradise of privilege. At the end of the day, I come from a very hardworking family, and a lot of people are struggling, TBH. So it's almost like to have that assumption is almost insulting and offensive. And, and people, and granted, it's not something that upsets me. It's just one of those things where it's just like, dear sirs and meows. It's not always sun, sand, and sea. And, and even growing up, like, for me, one thing that kind of stuck with me was just more or less like, why do the haves always get to have, and why do the have-nots get to make do? That's problematic. And that's a different conversation for another day, going deep. But like I said, peel apart, pick it apart, and understand that there's layers to this. And I think that's pretty much my experience growing up.